Studio for Manchester United. Sorry about the delay and sorry about my quietness and signal. I'm in a different location. I'm actually in Carlisle, so apologies if it's a bit slow and for whatever. So, but we're live. That's the most important thing. Just gonna quickly, yeah, we're live. We're live. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Anyway, yes. So, what do you say? What do you say about this result? It's weird. I don't actually feel. I don't know if it was the goal or whether it was just. I've just become so used to how um, United play that I'm not particularly surprised by this result. I've said for a couple of days now, a couple of matches now, that a lot of the wins that United were getting in Newcastle's runners, even against City, when you look back at it, a lot of it was actually not so much that United created tons of chances, um, or you could even argue deserved to win the game. Um, a lot of what United um, did was um, they punished mistakes from teams. Okay, so stray pass, um, not marking, whatever. They punish mistakes from teams, and that's basically what they are. I know this is a late show. I doubt there'll be many people are watching this because it is quite late. I wasn't intending to do a post-match reaction for this game, to be honest. But I just watched the game. I just thought I would just say a few things about it. And if anyone that's there, if you're new to the channel, just like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Um, Follow us on Twitter, We United X as well. But yeah, I didn't really. Um, there's nothing the game surprised me really. I mean, you know, it's difficult really to say. For me, the biggest thing, the biggest issue here, guys, was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got his tactics wrong. I think he just assumed that Pep Guardiola was going to do the same thing. Oh yes, Pep doesn't change, Pep doesn't evolve, and I think he just assumed that Pep Guardiola was going to do the same thing again. He was going to do the same thing again. Play with a forward like an Aguero, Gabriel Jesus. He didn't actually. Pep actually played with a false number 9, Raheem Sterling, and actually caused us some problems because um, we were overloaded in our midfield, and they were just basically and Fred and Pereira, who, to be honest, I mean, I know we have a midfield crisis, but Pereira's not. Is Pereira's not. I wouldn't even say Pereira's even a midfielder, to be honest. He's not defensive enough, really. And to play Fred and Pereira together, we've seen plenty of times this season that, right now the best midfielder is Fred and McTominay. And if McTominay's not there, okay, I think Matic, to be honest, I think Matic when he came on, had a decent game and was able to sort of bring some stability to there. I actually originally thought that was what he was going to play. He was going to play Fred and Matic in that midfield. I don't know why. I don't know why he decided to bring Pereira. I don't know why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer play Lingard, to be honest, because with a number 10, Lingard in that role was effectively useless because there was no real purpose for Lingard. Yes, I think I know a lot of people are going to blame Jesse Lingard, and they have a right to because he didn't do anything. But tactically, with the way Pep set up and the way we set up, he served no role. And to be honest, after the first goal, much like Frank Lampard did against Chelsea, I think Arsenal, he should have changed it. He should have taken Lingard off and said, right, okay, I'm going to change my formation, push for and then bring Matic into the midfield to help out. That's what he should have done. He didn't do that. We conceded 3 goals, 3 goals to Manchester City in a space of about 20 something minutes or so. Awful. And to be honest, with the way the game was going, I was actually generally thinking that we were going to be bantered. We were going to be bantered hard because it was just going all one way at one point, and we were clueless. There was no leadership, there was no direction. But this is standard Manchester United. This is not particularly a new phenomenon. This is how Manchester United have been. And frankly, one of the things that I feared was that I know you can't play because Maguire's obviously injured. All of our defenses are injured, and why not? Because of course Maguire was played essentially all throughout December. Phil Jones isn't rated by Ollie for some reason, but you have to play Phil Jones in some games to give Maguire rest. That didn't happen. And so what you have is a Maguire that's injured just due to playing large. I'm sure Lindelof is probably the same. Um, and Phil Jones comes in. And I always said, you have a problem if you're going to play a youngster in Williams who's just developing, who's just unsure himself, with Phil Jones together, because you've got inexperience and you've got a bad defender. And that's essentially what happened for arguably three of the goals. I don't think Lindelof was particularly good either. I think Lindelof was also quite poor. The only good defender you could argue was Wan-Bissaka. Um, just shout out to you guys in the comments. Lingard was finished many games ago. There was a non-existent player in midfield. I don't know what's going on with Lingard, to be honest. I really, really don't. Don Ragnar, I don't. He's just not been good for ages. He's been, and Ollie keeps on picking him. I don't know why. Maybe because the club want to offer him a new contract. And that's partly because of him. That's partly because his manager doesn't know what to do with him, to be honest. But we need better players. Freddie Live says, I'm done with this football club. No pattern play, no style of football. Ollie out, man. Ollie out. You tell me Pochettino won't coach these players better. Ollie, absolute joke. Get Poch now. I mean, there are a lot of people. I've been looking at Twitter and I've been seeing a lot of things from, like, I think Full-Time Devils and a few other people. Ollie in, Ollie in. A different management get different results. The usual stuff of the players aren't good enough, all the rest of it. And there was a time before I even started this channel when I actually believed those types of things. So, what you guys talk about, complaining, all this stuff like that. But then the reality is that I see Brendan Rodgers, I see Klopp, I see Pep, I see even Lampard, I see even what Arteta's going to do, and I see coaching. When you're talking about a good coach or good coaching setup, one of the key things is that you see is is that within a few weeks. Now, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be successful in the long term, but one of the things that you'll see is that you'll see an instant change in the way that the team plays. You'll see an impact. You'll see something that, because you'll see what the coach is trying to do. That's what you'll see. The problem with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that, from what I could see anyway, when he came in for the first 3 months before he got the job, I could see what he was trying to do. Yes, we were counter-attacking, but we were moving the ball a lot quicker than we are now. And we had an engine midfield in Pereira, Matic and Pogba, who were skillful enough not only to pass the ball well, but to pass the ball quickly and to move forward. And Pereira and Matic were good defensively. They were switched on, start back forwards protected. So our midfield was functional. Now we have a dysfunctional midfield, but we also have players that lack. We also have a squad that is jam-packed of young players, or with no leaders, and with an ability that is there but isn't being developed, isn't being cut. And that's what. So this is the problem when you say bring young players through just a young squad, because young players need to be coached. Young players need development. I look at Brandon Williams today, and I look at Misaka, James, a lot of the young players in the squad. I think there's potential in this squad. I look at Greenwood, who was absent for most of the game, and it's like there's potential, but it's not being coached. It's not coming out. It's not being. You give these players. People saying a different manager is nothing. I'm sorry if Jurgen Klopp comes into this team, he makes this team better. Not initially, but he does make this team better. Oh, so hopefully everyone can hear me, by the way. Let me know if you can't hear me, if the sound's okay. Chris Mateague says, hi folks, shocking stuff. Jamie Villapano says, Lingard has got to go. It's sad, but he's got to go. Footy Live, Lingard is a traitor. He's siding with Raiola. To be honest, if you look at Mina Raiola's recent comments about Manchester United, I know people hate the guy, but I don't think he's wrong. Manchester United is not run like a football club. It's run like a business. That's essentially what he said. And that the owners and the deals and stuff like that don't really know what they're going on about. And if you look at a lot of players that have left Manchester United, a lot of players in recent years are leaving on bad terms. And I think that comes from the ownership. Sorry. Don Ragnar, Scott McTominay's dad, Darren Ferguson, just said on Sky Sports, Ollie didn't get it wrong. He was just surprised by Pep's tactics. That is defending the indefensible. Is he having a laugh? I don't know what I'm Darren Ferguson's just, is that who Scott McTominay's mate, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's surprised by Pep's tactics. What, he thought that Pep Guardiola was an idiot, that Pep Guardiola doesn't change, that Pep Guardiola doesn't adapt. I'm sorry, Ollie, but good managers, you know, adapt. They don't just play one style of football all the time. One of the things that Pep doesn't like to be burnt twice, and with the exception of Liverpool, who just seem to banter City all the time, where he's tried to change his tactics a few times, it's worked, it hasn't worked. Generally speaking, when he's taken a loss, he tries to think about what went wrong, and then he'll then go and redirect it. We beat City at the Etihad because we punished City's mistakes and counter-attacked. City clearly Pep, but they were playing. I think it was Gabriel Jesus. I think was playing at that time. An outright forward. They played with false number 9 in Sterling Century this time to overload our midfield, and it worked. We were swamped, and they targeted Brandon Williams' side due to his inexperience, and that worked as well. So, for me, if you're going to put Phil Jones in, if you're going to put, I could see that from the first 5 minutes, and that's what for me what gets me with this game. Unfortunately, I know there'll be a lot of fans who go, "Why moaning? Why complaining?" But it's not. It's more the fact that it just seems to be obvious, and you're like, "Why aren't you doing anything about it?" From the first 10 minutes of the game, we were swamped in the midfield. We didn't need Lingard as number 10. So why? So why did he not change it? This was not against like a Burnley or something, you know, or we need to break a team down or something, or we need to. Why? I don't understand it. Um, Pretty live. The football club's legacy is ruined. We're done out here, man. Go and get a man who can rebuild a club and get Poch. You wouldn't be pissing about the transfer market. He'd have bought players by now. To be honest, I don't actually think it's this is where I think I go away from. This is Ollie's fault and away from the board because you know is it Ollie? Because Ollie's mentioned in several press conferences that we're going to try and get one or two players in. We're trying to get one or two players in, and we don't need to mention. So much like I think Mourinho, for me, the way that I see it is if Ollie doesn't get back during the January transfer window, for me, it's a sign that he's going to potentially be sacked. Because much like Mourinho, I was asking, why wasn't Mourinho backed in the September? Yes, I think he got Fred. I think was it Fred last? Did he get anyone? So I think he might have gotten Fred. I think that was it. But he wanted a centre back. He wanted a centre back. He wasn't given it, and the thing is, the way that I sort of see it is that for me, the Glazers should know, Ed Woodward should know that we just don't have any players. We need signings. So for me, that should be rocket science, even though they're not footballing minded. So for me, any signings, you just get them, it's fine. So for me, if the Glazers, if Woodward are not, as the conspiracy theory is saying, if they're not going to back him in January, it's because they're going to potentially sack him in May. That's what I see. That's what I see because it's just painfully obvious that he needs to be backed. Rasmus A, shout out to you, mate. Thanks for joining in. Sorry, Dan Fletcher. Don Raglan, the big clubs have now learned the playbook from Arteta and Guardiola on how to play against United. Ollie's primitive counter-attack style is now redundant. To be honest, it wasn't even the big clubs. I mean, most clubs, the lower clubs knew that already. Newcastle, Crystal Palace, most of the lower clubs knew how to play against Manchester United. It wasn't particularly rocket science. It was just, low block, shut out the space, overload their midfield, and then counterattack them. That's about it. The only teams to not really learn that for probably like the likes of Brighton and Norwich, City before, but now no, and who else? Maybe a Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea. We'll see how Chelsea play. I don't know, but the reality is that like most of the bottom teams were doing that anyway. They were able to beat us anyway, with knowing that that's all we had to do. United, Newcastle, and so on. It's just they obviously made mistakes the last time. So I'm going to go into the player ratings now. I want to keep this brief short because I need to actually get to bed. It's quite late, but to be honest, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not done with United. You always support Manchester United, but I think it's just more the fact that I go into games now and do these things in a very apathetic way, because the way we're playing, I don't see any improvement in this team. You know, a lot of people, a lot of, especially I read a lot of Twitter from Full Time Devils and a few other of those um, guys who seem to be Ollie in or United Glazer supporters. I don't know, and it's like, and it's the same old sort of, oh, you know, a new manager won't come in. Ollie stay. I'm not Ollie out. There's clearly divisions in the fan base. There's been a lot more. I've noticed a lot more increasing attack from people. Um, Dissing fan channels and saying we shouldn't be negative, and I sometimes get dislikes in this video from like negative and say it shouldn't be negative. It's your negativity that's ruining the club. But the reality is, it's just that I can only comment on what I see. I can only comment on what I see. Um, and at the end of the day, um, when you when I don't see improvement, what can you say? You know, all I'm asking is that players that coaches that come in and improve players. I can't think of a single player in the last 6 or 7 years that's improved massively. Aside from David De Gea, you know, that's it. And poor Pogba, you know, it's in a way it's good that poor Pogba is injured in a way, and not because I thought we need Paul Pogba, but I feel that because if Paul Pogba was playing in this team, any result, any bad result that we got, automatically Pogba would be the scapegoat. And I know a lot of United fans and the media and the press would say if Pogba was playing this game, they'd go, "Oh, the reason why United lost is because of Pogba, not because of Solskjaer's tactics, not because of the poor coaching, not because of any lack of any development or leadership in our next couple of. It's ultimately because of poor Pogba." So in a way, it's good that poor Pogba is injured because he can't get the blame, and then when he leaves, and then people don't have an excuse anymore because we're still crap. Um, uh, Don Ragnar says, controversial opinion. Do you think Swag's ongoing presence behind the scenes is preventing reinvention? There's attachment nostalgia and always preventing change for the times. Possibly, but Mourinho was there, and Mourinho brought his style. So you could be right. You know, to be honest, like um, Van Gaal and Mourinho in particular. Well, to be honest, Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho all tried to bring their own style of football, and it was wrong for United. Moyes tried to bring the way Everton played, took too much on, was wrong. Van Gaal tried to bring about old school, you know, Barcelona-esque Ajax type tactics of really just holding on to the ball and nothing else. Wrong. Mourinho, you know, park the bus type of tried to. All the managers that we've gotten so far, that we brought in, to be honest, none of the managers are really. Football has evolved in the last 10 years, and every single manager brought in, for me, is reminiscent of the previous decade of football. So by that I mean the early 2000s to 2010. That type of, if you put all those four managers, including Ollie in this, in that period, then actually United would do quite well, in my opinion. Or maybe early, you know, 2010 to 2013, they do quite well. But none of those managers, and this is for me, this is controversial. If you bring Sir Alex Ferguson back now, the tactics he played in 2000, it doesn't work because football has moved on. It's fast paced. It's quick. It's more intelligent. It's more dynamic. You have to make changes quickly. You have to adapt. You have to press. You have to defend quickly. There's so many things in the game that have changed, and United need a progressive manager. We have not actually. If we're going to get a future manager, um, United need to get a progressive manager, and they need to get someone who is a visionary, someone who is looking at the future of football and not looking at the past. We need to stop bringing people that look back at the past, at United's legacy. We need to stop looking at people who've had their own legacy in the past. We need to bring people in who want to progress the game, progress football, and push football forward. You know, that's the type of people that we need at this club. So for me, people saying Pochettino, I'm here nor there. Pochettino for me is in the middle when it comes to progressive. He's a good coach, and so I think it'll be good. But for me, I'm thinking of like your Nagelsmann's, um, even the guy Ajax, you know, managers like that where I can see, or like I can see the progression, the progressive football that those types of managers want to play, and that's what we need. Um, Footy Live, Ollie is bullshitting most of the players who are targets are going to other clubs. Haaland, Gedison, Fernandes, Mina, and there'll be more. I mean, it's probably not from him. A lot of these reports, to be honest, come and I cover them. And obviously, check out my transfer update videos on the channel. You see, I've covered a few of them. Um, Also, check out our latest video on. I posted a video on the top the Manchester United team of the decade. Let me know what you think on that. It's really really good designed. A few interesting choices there. So let me know what you think. Check that on the channel as well. Um, but yeah, the reality is that I think a lot of that is just media. It's just a lot of it, especially covering the transfer news. A lot of it is just media speculation, trying to sort of help agents out of their fees. Chris Matig, our plan A, which is counter-attack, should be our plan B. Counter-attack is usually be buying fewer teams that can't play football. Well, it can't play any other way, Ollie. That's a problem. Um, Don't go, gee, this is the most depressed I've heard you on a live stream. Um, to be honest, Don Ragnar, man, a part of it is because I'm tired, because it's late. It's like 10:30 we're doing this, and I've had a really long day. Another part of it is just like it's just apathy, really. It's really just apathy. It's just as the Carabao Cup, and the only positive I can take from this whole thing, if we go out, is that at least it means, I guess, one less game. I don't know, to recover. I said in the if you check it out, we'll be doing another thing again in 100% Manchester United. But I said it 100% Manchester United. I said, to be honest, I wouldn't mind just getting knocked out of the Carabao and FA Cup if it just means that we just cut down the games we're playing, give our players some rest, and just focus on pushing for top four, and getting in the Europa League, because we don't have the squad to compete in four competitions. Our squad isn't even good enough to compete in two competitions, let alone four. Sacrifice the cups. Let's push for Europe and then make a decision about Ollie and the rest of it. In That's what I think. But the way I see this team right now, we're probably going to end up fifth or sixth out of these competitions. That's just how it is right now, and there's no change. So there you go. Um, Chris Matig, it's terrific to watch, training a life out of fans. Don't know if Ollie stays in the job till May. He'll go up against David Moyes, West Ham. Imagine Moyes in the scenes. West Ham. It's just funny. It's funny. Anyway, let me quickly just go into the player ratings right now. I won't be too long on them, and then we'll wrap things up. Um, so David De Gea, he had an okay game. Really not called much to do, to be honest. Made one or two saves with his legs. Um, I do think that David De Gea is one of those keepers that I love. David De Gea, I think he is solid, but for me, um, in terms of, if we're talking about, we want to change Manchester United and we want to bring about progressive football, then you need to get a better keeper than De Gea. And not because I feel that De Gea is the problem, and I feel like he's been treated badly by the club, and that's not his fault. I think he's been a brilliant servant. Um, there's so much praise to him. To be honest, De Gea deserved to go, to Real Madrid. But I feel like in the modern game, especially when talking about the progressive game, from like I would say 2015 onwards, the progressive football that we play, you need a keeper that is good at distributing the ball with his feet. Um, Whether feet or arm, I don't care, but distribution has to be good. And De Gea's distribution is not good. He just kicks like, when I'm looking at De Gea, I'm just thinking, where's he where's he kicking the ball to? Who's he kicking the ball to? What's he trying to kick the ball? Is he trying to kick the ball to, is he trying to spur for counter attack? Is he trying to fight right? Is it just long ball up to Rashford? If he does, there's no, it doesn't seem to be any sense with his distribution, really. It's just away, off of sometimes, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes under pressure, you just need to kick it away, and that's fine. You don't need to do all the, you know, just pass it from the back all the time. But at the same time, you just sometimes you need, um, because Edison in particular is probably one of the best ball distributors in the Premier League, and Alisson is not that far behind. So I say he didn't have a bad game, and I'll give David De Gea, with a few saves, it could have been worse. So um, David De Gea gets David De Gea gets a 6 in my book. Phil Jones, you know, Phil Jones is. I don't want to hate on Phil Jones actually today because for two reasons. One, because this is his first start in goodness knows how long. He's clearly not match fit. Um, and two, you know, he Lindelof was probably worse in my opinion. I think Phil Jones. I think if you look at the first goal, Phil Jones does need to obviously come to him. I don't think Brandon Williams should turn his back on Bernardo Silva, but Phil Jones needs to come forward. They seem to back off, and it's a goal. Um, Second goal, obviously Lindelof doesn't get to it, slides for some unknown reason. Um, you put an experience. It's on the manager at the end of the day, and for me, that's just about it's about management. Phil Jones for me. Yes, I know. I think Twan CB and Biased are injured, and I think to be honest, I would like to see um, you know Twancy even buy injuries and get injury prone stuff like that. But if they were able to just get through the injuries, I'd actually like to see a Twancy buy partnership and see how that goes. And to be honest, as much as people hate Smalling, I think Smalling and Lindelof was a good centre back partnership because it's certainly better than so far Maguire and Lindelof and certainly Phil Jones and anybody. So we'll see. Um, but I'd like to see a Twan CB. I would like to see a Twan CB by partnership. It's just that both of those players aren't fit, but they might be fit hopefully next week. Who knows? But Phil Jones, I'll give Phil Jones a 4. Because I don't think he was the worst defender on the field, and ultimately it is Ollie. It's Ollie's fault for not playing him at least at some point in December and giving Maguire some rest. Because had he done that, it's quite possible that Maguire would have been starting in the first place and we might have had so many issues. Lindelof, I give a 3. Actually, Lindelof was bad today. The second goal and the second and the third goal in particular were just. I really don't know what Lindelof was doing. He looks like a player that's bereft of confidence. I don't think he's not been terrible this season, but um, the whole back five, and that includes Wan-Bissaka and this. There's not really any. It's like, you know, but it's coaching. It's coaching in England day. And like I said, I don't want to really go hard on this, even though I'm giving him a very low score. Um, I just think he needs to do. For me, I would stay on my feet. For a lot of these defenders, I don't know why they don't. Why we were so reluctant to not give fouls away. There were a few times where it was like, for the defenders, like just pull him down, just hack him, just something. Don't. Be a bit physical. It's Fred. Fred, I think, was the only player in the midfield where I saw a bit of that kind of like, right, let's just be a bit physical. Nip it out, just push, get Miles off the field. That type of, Fred seemed to be like, right, I seem to care. To be honest, Fred was the only player. Fred and probably Wan-Bissaka were the only players that I could see that were like, you know, they care. Everyone else, I'm not sure. But anyway, Lindelof gets a 3. Um, Chris Matic said Ajax manager for me would be the guy I liked us to have, but under proper owners. Yeah, I've always been active staying another quoted disciple. Yeah, I shout out to that guy. But you're right. But we're not going to get our owners change anytime soon, unfortunately. Stephen Corrigan, well, you can banter us. That's fine. I've got no problem. I'm not glory seeking with United, to be honest. It was bad. It was terrible, and this was it is. When other fans are sort of saying, "Oh, they feel sorry for you," you know that times are bad. Wan-Bissaka gets a 6 for me. Um, to be honest, City didn't even really go down. I'll even give him 6.5 because I think he had a better game than De Gea in the sense that like City didn't really go down. They knew that they couldn't get wet down, and that's the problem with Wan-Bissaka's game is that he doesn't really go forward that much, and I don't know whether that's him personally or whether that's the coach. I think it's a combination of both, but again, for me, he's under a proper coach better. We know that people don't go down Wan-Bissaka's side anymore. We know this, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. People don't go down Wan-Bissaka's side anymore. Um, that's just the way that it is. Um, so you know, it's up to Ollie, it's up to our defensive coaches to make Wan-Bissaka better going forward. And because we know that defensively not going to come right. If that element is made better, then suddenly you have, I would argue, a world-class fullback. But right now, the coaching setup right now, that's not happening. But defensively, like I said, City didn't really cause us any problems on Wan-Bissaka's side, which was to be expected. And I do think that we need to not, because I see a lot of increasing fans being critical of Wan-Bissaka and he's not doing this, he's not offering this, etc. In my mind, I'm like, well, by all means, we can put Ashley Young there or another inexperienced right back there, and suddenly you'll see the defensive work that Wan-Bissaka does for this squad. So yeah, 6.5 Wan-Bissaka. Brandon Williams struggled today. I think he had a pretty difficult game. Brandon Williams, very difficult game. Um, I don't think that was his fault. I think that, again, I'm not entirely sure why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put um, Phil Jones next to him, because that was a stupid idea, but he did. So there you go. So what do you do? They did. So yeah, he's young. He's still got a lot to learn. I like for the first goal, particularly, shouldn't have turned his back. Um, he did try and go forward a bit, try and create something. And to be fair, Brandon Williams, I can see the fight there. I'll put Brandon Williams in that he did care. That's one thing where you was like, he cared. He cared. He wanted to do something. He wanted to play. Um, he wanted to really fight for the badge, and he was doing that. It's just that he's just inexperienced, and naivety got the better of him today. And to be fair, he wasn't getting a lot of help, not from Phil Jones, and not from, I think it was Rashford on his side. He was getting doubled up multiple times. I'll give him a 4.5 maybe. So because he was not getting any help, and that a lot of that stemmed from what we talked about at the start, which was Solskjaer's tactical ineptitude. Fred, for me, I'll give a 6.5, much like 6.75, let's say that. I don't want to give anyone a 7 today because it's just been that type of game. But Fred, again, much like Fred, for me, has improved massively as a midfielder. And to be honest, with all the injuries I got, is our best midfielder. We cannot play without Fred. He's the only player that I can see that seems to have the work rate, that seems to keep on going on, that seems to keep on be fighting, that seems to keep on, that just seems to keep on going, and seem to care. I remember I saw one clip in where he was like, literally, Mars, I think, was slow, just shoved him off, was like, get off the field. It's him. I even remember in the Paris Saint-Germain game, was it last year, when he like pushes away one of the PSG players, like, don't bash Rashford. Like, he seems to care, and that's good. We want players that can care, and he's improved a lot. And frankly, for me, Fred's improvement is actually a banana peel, and a slap in the face to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer rated Fred. He clearly didn't rate Fred because at the start of when he took over, he barely played Fred. He'd rather play Pogba and McTominay and Pereira and all this than Fred at all. Fred was barely in the team, and yet because of necessity, because McTominay got injured, because Pogba got injured, etc., Fred is in the team regularly, consistency, and he's arguably our best midfielder. So I give Fred 6.75. I'll get into decimals now. Matic, I'll give a 6. Matic obviously came on a second half substitute. We didn't have Torben on the field, but obviously Matic came on. He did bring some stability. I think we played it better, not massively better, but better in the second half. And he was a part of that. I actually thought he was going to start. I thought it was going to be Matic and Fred. I don't know if it's because Matic can't play, 2 games in a week. I don't know, but for me, that's what you would have started. I don't know why Ollie decided to even put Pereira in midfield. He's not a defensive-minded midfield player at all. I don't know why he did it, but he did it. But Matic for me gets, and I've quickly gone through these. Matic for me gets a 5. Pereira was bad. I'm giving Pereira 2. Pereira Pereira is, I don't know what Pereira is, to be honest, because he's not. I don't think he's a midfielder, or at least a very good midfielder. He's certainly not a defensive midfielder. He's not a holding midfielder. As attacking midfield, doesn't really create anything. He's not a winger either. So much like Lingard, but more so, I don't really see what Pereira offers at all. I don't. He doesn't offer anything. In this game, for me, it was to help out Fred. He didn't do that. I don't know why he didn't do that, but there you go. But for me, Pereira, the lack of, especially from him and Rashford in particular, their lack of composure is telling. At their ages, they should be having better composure, and the amount of times that him or Rashford in particular took speculative shots out of the box. Oh, I can't do anything. Let me shoot from how many yards out? Why? When exactly? When was the last time a shot from that far out actually went into the goal? It's a frustrated effort. It's poor. It's lazy. It's not intelligent. Not finding anyone. And two for Pereira. Daniel James has not played well for weeks, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that we forget where Daniel James came from, and the fact that Daniel James has not, he's not been given the. He himself said that he was surprised how much first team football he was getting, and for me that's concerning, because I thought we brought Daniel James to potential. Now we essentially basically play Daniel James as a right winger, even though he wasn't. So it was like, I don't, ask yourself this question: why exactly did we purchase Daniel James? Why? Why did we purchase Daniel James in the first place? For potential, okay, but he was a left winger and a pretty good left winger, I must say, in the Championship. We already play Rashford in that position. Marshall can play in that position. Obviously James can play in the position, and then a few others that can make shift there, Chong or what have you. Speaking of which, it was actually good to see Angel Gomez on the field for once, and actually his tenacity got us, or helped us to get that goal back. So I've got no idea why Oliver Solskjaer's not been playing Gomez, but he needs to be playing Gomez a lot more. Anyway, as an aside, but yeah, this is the thing with James. I don't see the reason why we bought him. I don't, because we had as a left winger. If we're playing him on the right, because we played Daniel James on that, he's not a right winger. People don't forget this. Daniel James is not a right winger. Yes, he runs the space. Yes, he's good at that. Yes, he puts forward, but he's not a right winger. That's not his position. That's not his preferred position. And to be honest, then the best performances I've seen him play, it's been when he's played on the left. But he's tired. He's played quite a few games, and he still needs to be coached, which he's not getting, especially for this difficult turn. So, the thing with Daniel James for me is that we remember he's not a right winger. He's not. United should actually go out and actually get a right winger, which they're not, because they're lazy. They'd rather spend £50 million on a makeshift right winger, or use others that aren't, rather than spending money on getting an actual right winger. And that's on the club, that's on the board. But yeah, Daniel James, I said, didn't do particularly much today. He looks like he's frustrated, looks like he's tired, and I give him a 4.5 today. He's tried, he's a runner, but once you take that space away, he's not been coached beyond that right now. It all comes to coaching at the end of the day. Lingard won. I don't really know what's going on with Jesse Lingard or why he's still at this club. To be honest, I don't really know. The news came out saying these matches are Viola. I've got no. Yeah, that's fine. Yes, Viola. Good. Fine. That's cool. Um, he can go or get him someplace else. I don't know. But frankly, uh, he's not good enough anymore. He needs to be sold, and sold while he's still 27, because we're not going to get him off our books as soon as he turns 30. Um, you never know. Maybe a better coach, better manager plays Lingard properly. But in this game, or in games where we don't have a lot of space, when we're being swamped in midfield, you don't play Lingard, in my opinion. It doesn't offer much. And he didn't offer much today either. And the substitution should have happened earlier. It didn't, because maybe Lingard's confidence, maybe mental health, whatever. And if that's the case, I wish him all the best, but he needs to be away from the squad. I don't get how, if someone has any issues, and I feel for Lingard if he's got issues, I don't get how just playing him will make those issues go away. Um, he needs to be taken away from the squad, given some time away, given some time to think, reflect, and that's it. Simple as that. And that's nothing personal. There's no issue with Lingard, but that's on the manager, and it comes down to the manager again. We had a terrible game, Lingard, and that for me stems toward the manager. Greenwood, likewise, maybe not as bad as Rashford, because he was trying to do a few things, but again, um, like a lot of these young players that I've mentioned, I can fit in Williams and James and Wan-Bissaka, um, in a lot of these players, it's the same thing about a lack of coaching ability that we don't have in the squad right now. And Greenwood, I see massive potential in Mason Greenwood, so much potential. And if he was under a Klopp, or if he was under a Pep, you could see it realised. He's not getting it realised right now. He either needs a good loan move, or he needs some time away. Oh, 14 people watching. Get your comments in. Get your comments in. Get your likes in. Let me know what you think about the game. Get your comments in. Get your comments in. Because we're almost done. So please, please, if you want me to say anything, or if you have any thoughts on the game, or where United should go from here, post it in the comments and let me know, and we'll continue. But anyway, Mason Greenwood, and obviously make sure to like the vid, like the vid, like the vid, like the vid, like the vid. Like and share the vid, sorry. And if you're new to this channel, please like, share and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Very much appreciate it. We're trying to do a lot of these live post-match reactions to get your thoughts and comments. And also check out our Team of the Decade video that's just posted on the channel just yesterday. James Griffin says, poor performance, really don't know where we go from here. Where do we go from here? We go from here, I think that for me, as I've said, we drop out of the cup competitions. We focus on, and we make a decision. Do we focus on the Europa League, or do we focus on the top four? For me, I think with the teams in Europa League, we have a better chance of qualifying for Europe, for Champions League via the top four, because it shows inconsistency, than we do Europa League. So for me, the way that I see it is that we put all our eggs in one basket, we rest our players, and we just focus on league position from now to the end of the season. Because I doubt we're going to get anyone else. We might, you never know, but increasingly I'm thinking we're not going to get anyone in the January transfer window. So I feel that we should really, I'm trying to say, we should really, conserve our team and actually push for the league position. Anyway, Greenwood gets I gave it Greenwood a 5, I think, didn't I? Yeah, Greenwood a 5. Marcus Rashford, before I go on, Marcus Rashford gets a 5 as well. I don't think, 5.5, because he did score the goal. But aside from that, I don't really know what else Marcus Rashford did, because Marcus Rashford's composure, much like Pereira's composure, is still not good. And it frustrates me because, yes, he's still young, but I just don't understand why, the amount of times I'm like, just pass the ball, pass it to the left, pass it to the right, take a touch, don't just blast it. And you're like, oh. And it's like, are these players being coached? What's going on? We have set pieces. We don't, just from top to bottom, can't score from set pieces, free kicks, corners. can't play from counter attack, can't pass the ball, and that's one thing. And I'll say to this, I'll give Marcus Rashford five and a half. Sorry, is that you know even just the quality on the ball for United this week has been bad. You know, when we're not even passing the ball well. Our touches, the amount of sloppy passes I saw in that game, the poor touches, you're like, what's going on? At least have a good first touch. At least have a good pass on you. We can't even do that. Um, James Griffin, maybe a change of manager. Well, maybe. Like I said, it's not so much a change in manager. It's that we need to get a good coach. We need to get a good coach. And to be honest, I don't care what anyone says. I would have taken Brendan Rodgers from Celtic because I knew that Brendan Rodgers was a good coach. There were a lot of fans who were like, "Oh, he bottled the league, he bottled the league, he bottled the league," and they forget the fact that he improved the players that Liverpool had. That's what I'm talking about. I don't give a damn about whether a manager has won trophies or not or whatever. What I'm concerned about is does this manager or does this coach, sorry, coming in, can they improve? Can they coach the players to be better? Klopp won his first trophy with Liverpool last season, and he'd been there for what, three and a bit seasons. So is Klopp a bad coach because it took him 3.5 years to win a trophy? No, because you could see that the players, the coaching under him, the players were better. They were improving. You know, so for me, it's not so much about we need to go away from this idea of um, big trophy managers or legends of the club or etc. We need to bring in managers, coaches that we know have experience in making players better, in developing players, in making them better. And there are not that many coaches out there, but they are there, and they're making players better. So what does this mean for Ollie? And I'll end this stream fairly soon because I've been going for quite some time now. Keep your comments in. We'll be finishing in the next 2 or 3 minutes. But Ollie, like I said, for me, the way I sort of see this is two things, and it all comes down to this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows under pressure. And okay, we got the goal. It's 3-1. It's always a possibility that we score 2 goals. Yeah, we scored more than 2 goals the Etihad before. We scored 2 goals this season. We scored 3 over Santa Mourinho. So we can score the Etihad. We can score 2 goals. It's not impossible. But the Ollie knows he's under pressure, not just because of this result, but just in general. Especially, back-to-back defeats against rivals. We got battered by Arsenal in the league, and we got battered by City as well. So, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. So, the way I see it is that, like I said, if Ollie doesn't get, even though I think we should still sign players because we need players, because our squad is thin, the way I see it, if Ollie isn't backed in the January transfer window, then he's gone in May at least. He's not going on any further, unless by some miracle he manages to go on a ridiculous run from January to the end of the season. He's not going to be here because, much like with Mourinho and Van Gaal to an extent, where they wanted a particular player, they needed players. Ollie has said that he needs reinforcements, i.e. midfield or forward or two. They haven't got them. If he doesn't get the players, he's gonna be gone. It's as simple as that, and we'll be in the same situation. My only fear is that, much like a lot of situations, is that if Man United do sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, do you trust this board to make the right appointment? After 4 failed managers, I don't think so. I don't trust the board at all. Edward Woodward, while he's still, in charge of transfers, I don't trust them at all to make the right decision. Georgia B says, Ollie and staff out-coached again. Team's not good enough and isn't improving. Same story. Ollie's a deer in headlights. Rasmus say Ollie doesn't belong here. And Georgia B, I'm afraid of who we might sign. But we've got to remember here, though, this is the thing, we've got to remember, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I posted a personal reaction where we beat Manchester City in the league. We stopped them from essentially winning the title. So what's changed? Okay, yes, the squad is different. Williams, Jones, Pereira playing where he was. I think Lingard was playing in that game, and Greenwood I don't think was playing. So it was obviously a different squad that played against City. And there's an argument that if we had a first team, would we all the first team players in? Because you look at that City squad, and to be honest, most of their first team players were in that team. Sterling, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. Aside from their keeper, they basically played their strongest 11, give or take good one, maybe for Aguero or something like that. But they essentially played their strongest 11. Philip B, we all knew when Sir Alex Ferguson retired the good times would not continue if we are honest with ourselves here. Well, to be honest, that's on Sir Alex Ferguson for and the board and people around him for not. Manchester United, I would believe, is bigger than any person, and that includes Sir Alex. And it's not just about one individual. And I love Sir Alex. I love what he did for the club. But that's why you need succession plans. That's why you need handovers. You know, I look at Liverpool and I'm scared of Liverpool, and I hate bringing them Liverpool up, but it's Liverpool the standard now. And I look at Liverpool and I can almost see what they're doing. You know, they've signed Klopp on for a couple of years more, and then Stevie G, who's doing bits with Rangers. I can already see what they're doing. They're planning for the future. You know, their contracts expire at the same time. As soon as Klopp decides, you know, I'm enough, I've finished Liverpool, Stevie G comes in, manages Liverpool for the same philosophy. They're thinking for the next decade. we from Swagswing from beforehand are not thinking about that at all. We're just thinking of quick, short-term success. Let's try and do this. Let's try and do that. No future planning, nothing. Um, and um, and it's wrong. And it's not for me about just keeping someone else's legacy on. It's about evolving the game. And this is the thing, right? I keep saying is that part of the problem for me, as I think Don Ragnar mentioned or before, is that when we a lot Ollie in this instance, I think one of the things was that him and a lot of people United want that nostalgia, want to look back. You can see it in the fact that we when we're signing Brexit FC players, you know, you can see all this whole kind of let's get things back to the way that we used to play, blah blah. Football has evolved. Football changes. Manchester United is not the same club it was back then, and football is not the same as it was back then. So Alex Ferguson comes back, Philip B, into this team, and for me, I think he gets schooled because unless he adapts the way that he plays, unless he adapts the tactics, because the way that they played in those days is not going to work now. Um, that's why United need to get a progressive manager who is aware of the modern game and who can coach players. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I mean, like I said, I'm not. It's like I'm not angry anymore. You know, there's no point in ranting. It's the usual stuff: poor tactics, poor management, poor coaching. I'm probably going to be repeating this over and over and over again. I hope we can do well at the weekend. But like I said, I go into these games now somewhat apathetic, um, hoping that you know things will get better. Jamie Thompson, you need a better mic. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's part of the reason is just because one, um, I left my mic back at back where I stay, so I don't have it. But also because I speak quite quietly because I've got roommates. But you will probably hear a um, better voice of this weekend when I cover the game. So my apologies, guys, for those who aren't hearing. But I will get a better microphone come the weekend. Though thank you for everyone for watching and listening. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe to Red Devil Studio. Follow us on Twitter with United X and smash the notification button for latest United news. Have a nice evening, guys.